Head over to miniaturemarket.com where there are thousands of board games at discounted prices like Cape May. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. You're about to see my Allegro 1-minute overview and final thoughts. This is designed to see if this game warrants more of your time. If it does, just keep watching because then you'll see my full intro overview and final thoughts. However, if you don't want to be spoiled anything and you want to skip right to the full review, use the time index below in YouTube. Cape May is an economic style game for 1 to 4 players where you'll be building shops, making them into businesses, making more money, making cottages, upgrading them to Victorians, and even landmarks with white picket fences to try to get the most points. You'll be using movement cards in order to move around the board, and building different things like shops that give you income, or upgrading those to businesses that give you even more income, or maybe building cottages, upgrading those to Victorians, and upgrading further to landmarks that have a nice white picket fence around them. And you'll be doing this to try to get points depending on which region they're built in, and also having a majority for those at the end of the game. But you'll also be drafting bonus cards at the beginning of the game, giving you a focus, like having 3 buildings in the sand and at least 3 buildings in the gravel to get a certain amount of points. You'll be getting 3 actions each round, and you're hoping to have enough money to get to the end of the 3rd round, because then you'll be getting more income. Each 3rd round you get more income, so it's an economic game, building up money to use that money to buy buildings, to get your points, and achieve goals. Cape May has beautiful production, great table presence. You're moving around with cards, sometimes needing to spend money. You're finding the right time to waste an action to pick up those cards. You're building and upgrading based upon your secret goals that change every game, keep things fresh. Your activity cards are great, they help you break the rules of the game and move over somewhere else and build and upgrade anywhere a lot of the times. It's mixing economics with area control and abstract movement, and I think it does so in a good way. On the name side of things, the turn order gives too many actions between players sometimes, and then after you've played many of the bonus cards, the game can feel like it has a similar arc, with that being the only thing that's slightly different. And then at the end there, being able to see the lighthouse and what the pier locations do would have been nice to see in the player aid. But overall, this is a good game, a solid one that mixes a lot of different mechanisms in a beautiful package, and one I can definitely recommend, and that's Cape May. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. We're going today to a beautiful part of the country, Cape May in New Jersey, out by the beach, and we're going to be moving around and building shops and upgrading the businesses and building cottages, making them into Victorians, making them into landmarks, looking at birds. Today we're taking a look at Cape May from Thunderworks Games. Let me show you how this works. I'll see you on the other side. In Cape May, you're going to be walking around Cape May and building shops that'll gain you money. Then you can upgrade them to businesses that give you even more money. You might be building cottages and upgrading them to Victorians, and even putting a white picket fence around them, making them a landmark, all to try to have the most points in the end. Now here's the beautiful board for Cape May, and you're going to be moving around there, and there's certain sections. Here's the gravel, and then there's grass. As we get closer to the water, we have dirt, and then we have sand, and this is going to be different points and different costs to make things, because things on the pier are more valuable than things that are further away, for example. One of the things you'll be doing throughout the game is moving. You have a hand of cards, and you'll be playing one to move a certain amount. Now, some of these cards, typically the very low numbers or the high numbers, actually cost money in order to use them as well. So if we moved 4, we could go 1, 2, 3, 4, for example, and now you see this dot. We are adjacent to that spot that's a hex, which means we could, for an action, build a shop there. Now remember that this shop is in the gravel there. And on your player aid, you can see if it's in the gravel and you want to build one of those shops, it's $2, but it's going to increase our income by 3. So we would spend it to build it there, and we would move up 3 in that income track. This will be important because at certain parts of the game, you're going to gain income equal to how far you moved up on that track. But another action you could do is if you're next to it, you can upgrade it. So this would go away, and this improved shop is now a business. And as you can see, it cost us 2 because we're in the gravel, and it's going to increase our business by 2, and we get an upgrade card because we upgraded it. And because we were in the gravel, we could take this one, which would allow us to remove our discarded movement cards, because you have to spend an action to pick up all your movement cards, so you have those different things to do. Or you could draw some from here and select one of those as well. Now if you're in a spot next to a square, and again the dot shows we're adjacent, we could build a cottage. Later on we might upgrade that to a nice Victorian. and then even later upgrade it to a landmark, which essentially is a Victorian but has a nice white picket fence around it. Now, why are we building these different things? Well, shops and businesses gain you money, and the cottages slash Victorians and landmarks typically give you points. So we look at this gravel area here, and at the end of the game, you're going to get a certain amount of points for these depending on where they are. Victorian will get us 1 point, a landmark will get us 5, but the closer you get to the pier, the more expensive they are to build, but the more points you'll get as well. Plus, at the end of the game, you're going to get points for having majorities, the most buildings in certain areas, like the gravel, the grass, the dirt, and the sand. You'll be getting a certain amount of points, again, for the total amount of buildings in there, so you have area majorities in those total regions. Now, another big part of scoring are your bonus cards. You'll get 4 of these at the beginning of the game, and you draft them down to 2. And these are going to be secret, but these are huge, and they pretty much form your overall strategy for the game each time you play. Like this one is saying having at least 8 buildings adjacent or diagonally adjacent to a bird space. For example, here's a bird space. If I built diagonally to it, that would count towards that. Now, another thing about these bird spaces is if you end up ending your movement on them, from a bag, you're going to be pulling out different birds, hopefully different, because at the end of the game, for each set of different birds you have, you'll get a certain amount of points. For example, if you have 4 different birds as a set, you'll get 7 points. And maybe your other bonuses have at least 3 buildings in the sand zone and at least 3 buildings in the gravel zone. So this is why we were building in the gravel zone, because we have that goal. Plus, if we have at least 4 buildings in each of those zones, we'll get an additional 2 points. So these are secret that you're trying to do. It's a main part of the scoring for your game. Now, another part of the game are these activity cards. These are cards that let you break the rules of the game. You can either play an activity card for an action, or you can draw 2 and keep 1. And these allow you to do different things, like, hey, you can just move right to a lighthouse space on the board. Or maybe any cottage you can upgrade to a Victorian, or any Victorian to a landmark. You don't have to be next to it. And that's huge, being able to do that, and it costs 2 less. Or maybe you upgrade any cottage to a Victorian, or any shop to a business. And being able to do that without needing to be right next to it is huge. So how does the flow work? On your turn, you're going to take 3 actions. As you take them, you track them up here. After you've taken 3, it's the next player's clockwise. After all players have taken a turn, you'll go to the next month of the game. And notice there are 4 different seasons, 3 months per season. Now, once you get to, you pass a spot here, you're going to gain income, and that's going to be important. As I showed you earlier, those businesses and shops gain you income on that track. Wherever you are on that track, you'll get that much money, but you're only getting those 3 times during the day, so you're trying to build up, get a bunch of money. You'll spend your money through here, you'll be almost broke, then you get a big influx of more money. So you're trying to build up a lot of money of income in the beginning of the game, and then using that to buy the buildings that get you points towards the end of the game. Now also, at the beginning of each round, you're going to get an event card. Now these could be good things like getting a certain amount of money depending on the season that you're in, or they could be bad things like putting fire tokens out, meaning you can't build in those certain areas that round. That's pretty much it. At the end of the 12th round there, you're going to get points again for what you've built in certain regions, for possible area control, for the birds that we spoke about earlier, and some of your bonus cards, and also some of the upgrade cards may have just gotten you bonuses as well, whereas the most points at the end is the winner. All right, Cape May, first of all, beautiful production. The art, the graphic design, the buildings, the chunky bits, the miniatures for those. This game just looks so beautiful on the table, and then with the table presence of the minis, it just takes it up another notch. Just everything in this game just screams beauty to me. They did a great job with just how the presentation of this game, it really draws you in, and I love the theme. I love unique themes. We're at Cape May, we're doing this thing, it's an economic game. Good stuff right off the bat. I like that you're moving with cards instead of dice, for example, but I also like that you've got to spend some money sometimes to do the ones that move you smaller or huge amounts. And then you're trying to find the right time. When do I pick up those cards? When do I sort of like, quote unquote, waste one of my 3 actions to pick up the cards? Because I'm looking forward, I'm looking turns ahead, I'm like, oh, can I use these? Yes, no, I'm gonna have to pick them up. Do I waste an action or can I do something else? I like that. You're always building and then upgrading based upon your goal. The goal is very important. You get to draft those at the beginning, but you're always doing everything in conjunction with those secret goals, and I like that. The activity cards really open up the game because you might feel quite restricted by the movement. And you're like, well, how do I get something way down there? Or someone's starting to move into my majority, or someone's starting to do things that are going against what I need to do in my goals, but I'm so far away. Well, you use the activity cards to break the rules of the game and build something over there, upgrade something over there. It gives you the freedom of where otherwise, if those weren't there, this game would be too straitjackety. But this gives you the freedom to be able to sort of break the rules and just, hey, hop over there and build or upgrade or do something like that. I really like the activity cards as an aspect of the game. It really makes everything else work well together. And here you're mixing economics with area control with abstract movement. It's sort of a hodgepodge of mechanisms, but I think they all work well together. Now let's talk about turn order. Now, this is one of the negative things of the game for me, was the way that turn order worked. It was sort of strange to me, where it's like every player gets 3 actions in a row, and then you get to, once it's done, you pass the turn order clockwise. So that means in a 3-player game, you might have to wait 12 actions after you've taken a turn, depending on where the first turn marker is. That's a lot of actions to wait through. I almost wonder why they didn't either make it so you just do 1 action and then it goes to the next player. I can see why, because a lot of times you have a plan and you're like, okay, I'm going to move here, I'm going to build, I'm going to upgrade. And when it's your turn, you kind of take those 3 moves kind of in succession, because when it's other players' turns, you're kind of planning all 3 of your actions. Like, very rarely you'd be like, I'm going to do this. Okay, now what should I do? You're pretty much planning all 3 actions, so I can see why they didn't do that. But why didn't they maybe have you move the first player marker counterclockwise? Turns go clockwise, those go counterclockwise. The turn marker goes counterclockwise, similar like Mystery Express. That would have reduced like the wait time for that player in a 3-player game from 12 actions to 9. Would have reduced it a little bit by just passing it in the other direction. Could have just put a little arrow on there. I think it would have helped, but it does feel weird sometimes that you're waiting so long. It gave me like flashbacks of like Grand Austria Hotel, where like sometimes you just wait so long for it to be your turn. But other than that, okay, so the other thing that could have been a little better is the bonus cards. So the game has sort of an arc to it, and you follow a similar arc. So you're going to be building shops and then hopefully maybe upgrading the businesses, because you got to get this cash going early, and then you're using that cash to then build the Victorians and upgrade to landmarks. And that arc tends to be what you're doing generally every game. So that sort of feels a little bit like you're doing the same thing. But after you've played certain bonus cards, you typically don't want to play those again. Like, I had a bonus card that said, actually it was the one I showed you, about building adjacent to birds, right? And I did that, and it's hard to get those bonus cards done. It really is. Like, you have to focus the entire game to get those bonus cards. So if you're focusing the entire game on doing this and also getting things adjacent to birds, by the time I'm done playing that game, next time I play the game, or any future time I play the game, I want to play it differently. Otherwise, it's really going to be the same. So I feel like after you've played with all the bonus cards, you've kind of played the game, and there's not going to be much more after that. But there is an expansion for the game, so that's to be said. But it can feel not samey, but it feels like the arc is very similar from game to game. The bonus cards is really what mixes that up. So try to get it, but you do get 4 and you get to choose 2. The other thing is the event cards can feel randomly bad for some and not others. There was one game where I set myself up for this next turn. Boom, I moved, I'm right where I need to be. I'm gonna be able to build and upgrade. It really goes to my goal. Next turn, crap, there's a fire in this neighborhood. I'm not gonna be able to build it this neighborhood. And next round I'm getting income. But it didn't happen to hurt anyone else. They feel randomly bad to certain players and not bad to others. I could have done without those. And I also wish that the player board was really good. It could have included sort of the special pier and the lighthouse, what those spots did. Not a big deal. You can just look on the back of the book, but it would have been nice to have there. But overall, the game is good. It's a good, solid game. If you like economic games where you're managing money and tight actions, tight Euro games that looks beautiful with a unique theme, I think this is going to be one that you'll enjoy, because there's so many different things working together here well that in the end I did enjoy the game, and I definitely can recommend it. And that is Cape May. It's been the Game Boy Geek, breaking down barriers, growing relationships with board games, by helping you find the next one you'll love. Game Toppers not only transforms your existing table to a high-quality gaming solution, they now offer full leg kits and dining cover solutions for the full table application. Paired with their amazing thematic premium stitch edge mats from noted board game artists like Vincent Dutray, collapsible cup holders, and really cool accessories, it's a complete system that upgrades every game you play. Go to GameToppersLLC.com or click the link below.